gonna build a southern border fence? We'll get to that hypocrisy later, but first, our top story, California dictator Gavin Newsom has lifted the state's stay-at-home order. After nearly a year of being in Newsom's 2-week lockdown, the health crusader decided to lift his stay-at-home orders. Why? I don't know. But we can say the stay-at-home order is lifted in conjunction with Newsom now being under a very real threat, as his recall effort now has 1.2 million signatures. That's of the 1,495,709 signatures that are necessary to trigger a recall of the great governor. But in a moment of truth, Newsom claimed the lockdown lift isn't political. And we know that to be true because on December 3rd, when he issued the current stay-at-home order that's been terrorizing California, LA County hospitalizations were at 2,572. And today, as he lifts the order, LA County hospitalizations are at 6,697, which is more. But he's lifted the order because things have gotten better. In the midst of the intense lockdowns, inspirational socialist Newsom received public records requests for the data being used to justify the lockdowns. And instead of supplying the public with the public records, his state officials refused, saying the data would confuse the public. And luckily for the public, Gavin knows he's smarter than them. And in opposition to Newsom news, California Republican Chairwoman Jessica Millen Patterson tweeted, "The governor's decisions have never been based on science. Him reopening our state is not an attempt to help Californians, but rather an attempt to counter the recall movement. It's sad and pathetic." Well, I say, how come Big Tech hasn't censored her yet? What can we say to discredit her? She's Gavin-phobic. She is Gavin-phobic. Cancel her. It is certifiably Gavin-phobic to even suggest he's lifting the lockdown orders just because he knows what he's done is wrong, and now he's just scared of losing the power that he's addicted to abusing because of the recall efforts. If I may, scientifically speaking, it's just that we're dealing with a virus that's so conniving that it's trying to frame Newsom by getting less intense as the recall efforts get more intense. And most of Newsom's residents live intense because of him. This just in! If you're a California resident, don't go to recallgavin2020.com and leave your signature. We here at this station believe Gavin. And to prove that this evil man's motives are in the people's best interest and aren't for his political gain, he's supplied us with his latest scientific data to justify his decision to lift the stay-at-home order. As you can see here. As Newsom has spent months trying to convince California residents that it's too dangerous to leave their homes, and now that nothing's changed, he's trying to convince them that it's safe to leave their homes and go do things like go to a restaurant. We'd like to point out the following. Governor Newsom is such a brave leader that he was dining out at restaurants before it was safe to do so, and before people were allowed to. And he was doing this to let people know it's safe to do so now, but not when he did it. This just in! The person that makes the law doesn't have to follow the law if he thinks he's above the law. But in spite of his brave leadership, which I'm not sure, is he getting the Medal of Honor for it? He should. In spite of it, he's still taking a lot of heat for dining at the French Laundry. In response to the dining incident where he got caught, Newsom's actions were interviewed, where they said, he doesn't believe in his own mandates, he doesn't respect voters, he's deliberately trying to destroy businesses, and he's using fear to manipulate the people that he's supposed to be serving. Meanwhile, when interviewed, his words said something different.
I made a bad mistake.
Yeah, that's what your words said, Gavin, and you seem authentic too.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Still on the same topic, Dictator Newsom is currently being sued by over 50 restaurants and wineries over his long-standing ban on dining. Some speculate the restaurants will win the lawsuits, because after all, this is still America, goddammit. While others say, no it's not, communism rules, and I'm in charge. which is the statement from Gavin's defense attorney. Also worth mentioning, with a stay-at-home order being lifted, the curfew that Newsom violated California residents with has also been lifted. The curfew, which was condescending from the get-go, was in place to instruct residents that they must stay home between the hours of 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. That's on top of the stay-at-home order that was in place instructing residents that they must stay home 24 hours a day. Apparently both were necessary because it felt more powerful to Gavin. Changing lanes. Now when you go on to toxic Google News, Google News, you're greeted by a fact checker section on the home page. The fact checkers have been so factual that they've been getting a lot of backlash from people who care about the truth rather than their facts. So what does a Google do? Hide the truth deeper under facts by bringing a fact check section to the home page. Seems respectful of human intelligence. Also, Google says it will not be backing members of Congress that voted against the election results. Shocker. Some speculate that Google is starting to lean left. Others are speculating about why some are still speculating about that. Oh, and what was the thing that was just on the screen about CNN removing the COVID tracker right after Biden took office? Oh, that's right. The fact checkers fact-checked that as false, even though it happened. Great. In other miracles that have happened now that Biden's taken office and the lockdown doesn't have to be used for political gain news, Chicago public schools want children back in school. But the Chicago Teachers Union refuses, wanting classes to remain online where they're teaching from home. Well, it's kind of like the teachers are still believing what you just told them about things being unsafe, and now they still believe it, even though you're telling them that it's safe, but nothing's changed. Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler pepper sprayed a man who was confronting him about not wearing a mask. And the man who was confronting him for not wearing a mask was also not wearing a mask. The Portland mayor has been taking a lot of heat for how he dealt with over 100 days of riots over the summer that some pretended were protests. It appears as though the far left is now attacking the farther left. I'll be in Texas. As former President Trump's ban on mainstream social media continues, he's reportedly looking for alternative companies that will violate his privacy and take his data for their profit. His search has not been fruitful, and he might be left with having to keep his privacy for himself. From the inauguration, the excitement over Bernie Sanders' mittens is here, and the excitement over Biden now being president is here. It appears as though mittens have won the popular vote. But sorry, Bernie, we use the Electoral College. The popular vote doesn't get you into office, but your party keeps you out of office anyway. While the inauguration ceremony was happening for Bernie Sanders' mittens, Biden was behind the scenes taking office. It's approximately Biden's 1-year anniversary of his own words over Trump's travel ban, which were, Trump further diminished the U.S. in the eyes of the world by expanding his travel ban. This new African ban is designed to make it harder for black and brown people to immigrate to the United States. It's a disgrace. We cannot let him succeed. Because of Trump's actions, Biden also called him a xenophobic. As a way of celebrating his 1-year anniversary of his words, Biden put together his own travel ban, prohibiting people from traveling to the US from South Africa. Is President Biden's same actions xenophobic? No, they are not, because they're different. And especially not if we change the definition of xenophobic, which we've already done. Traveling further down memory lane, we're recalling an exciting and progressive idea that President Biden endorsed back in 2006. Specifically, he voted for a 700-mile-long fence at the southern border between the US and Mexico. I voted for a fence, is what Biden said about it. In our research into what a fence is, we have reason to believe a fence is like a wall, only not built quite as well, yet serves the same purpose. So clearly things are different with this administration because we tell you they are. You haven't been fooled. Now go back to sleep, you fool. Good night. Thank God we're done with this video. Oh yeah, and I want to thank Blue Blocks for sponsoring this video. I love Blue Blocks because they protect me from blue light. Now blue light, it's kind of like dog poop on your living room rug. It messes things up. I don't like it when you poop on the rug. And I don't like blue light either. Are you really gonna do that on camera? The problem with blue light at night is it tells your body it's daytime, which means your stress hormones go up and your sleep hormones get suppressed, which ultimately means you can have a tougher time falling asleep, you get a lesser quality of sleep, and the next day you wake up more unrested with less energy. Still doing it. And whatever you do, just don't lick your butt. But Blue Block solves the problem of blue light. Personally, I just put a pair on in the evening as the sun's going down, and I know I'm protected from blue light, so I can ultimately feel and function my best. My all-time favorite pair of Blue Blocks is the Sleep Pluses with a Maverick frame. If you want to join me in using Blue Blocks so you can feel and function your best with great sleep, just go to blueblocks.com/JP. And because you're a viewer of mine, use a discount code